All right. Welcome to the Scorched Earth podcast for Tuesday, February 4th. This is the sports side of it. And please leave your comments, hit the like and subscribe button right there. It's real easy, just a real second. Means a lot to us. And what I'm going to start doing now until Brother Brian comes in is I'm just going to go over headlines that'll get your day going for the first thing in the morning. And obviously the thing that, which I didn't think was possible, that obscures the Super Bowl is still that Luka trade. I think we all still have more questions than answers. I still haven't seen any pushback from Dallas. I mean, the not really in shape, not really dedicated to conditioning. It just seems so terrible. And I'm going to ask you, the listener, some questions that I'm not really hearing on social media or other podcasts. If you're a Dallas fan and you knew you could win the title this year, that Nico, the GM, pulled the right string, Anthony Davis is going to lead them like Moses out of Egypt to the title, would you still want the deal? Like, if I'm a Dallas fan, I understand how unique and generational this talent is. I don't think I would do it. I really don't. And being a Boston fan, I wouldn't trade Jason Tatum for Luka, but there's literally only 3 or 4 guys in the league that you wouldn't do it. But I'd think about it if I was Boston. I mean, he is that good. He's 25, Tatum's still in the same range, but I still don't understand it. I don't understand how they didn't extract more. I mean, I can't believe Rob Pelinka didn't go to the hospital when they were having the first conversations and Nico said, "Would you be interested in Luka?" Like, wow. Okay, revive me. I mean, Kurt Rambis is over there giving him CPR, right? I don't know. I'm still stunned at it. I hate the Lakers. I got to respect the game, though. Hate the game. It's just like, I heard Bill Simmons yesterday, and he was saying it's like they're always born on third base, Magic leaves, Kobe and Shaq come in, they leave, Paul Gasol comes in, they leave, LeBron comes in, AD comes in, now Luka. It's like, oh my God. I being a Boston fan, I don't really consider KG like a free agent. Somebody came in, they had to convince him. But for the most part, I mean, most places, where do you really sign a high-profile free agent? I mean, the first one I really remember was Moses Malone leaving Houston to go over to Philly. And I don't know. It's just I'm baffled. Now being a Boston fan in Los Angeles, it's very difficult to go around and just see all these new bandwagon Dodger fans, and I'm going to have to deal with this for 4 or 5 years. I mean, we know they're going to be in the playoffs the next 4 or 5 years. It's just I'm hoping they don't win World Series. I hope they're not going to go on a run like the Yankees did in the late 90s, right? 4 out of 5, 3 out of 4. I might need some fentanyl. I'm telling you right now. And from now on, when I hear something dumb in sports, I'm going to call it a Nico. As for the GM of the Dallas Mavericks. And I just literally, this had to be signed off by the ownership, the brand new ownership, the Adelsons. I don't know. I just can't get there. I at the end of the day, if you want to say they didn't think he was worth the Supermax, well, why are you even in the game if you're not going to play one of the best players that money? And I saw Luka late on Monday night. His dad eviscerated the Dallas Mavericks. He's talking about how his son was dedicated. He wanted to bring him a title. And let's not downplay how great this gets for the Lakers. Now, if they sign him this summer, they get a $115 million discount, right? They don't got to pay the $350. They get a $115 million discount. Yeah. Okay. Let's just move on from that. So now we're seeing the dark side of gambling. I was going to do some prop bets today, but this gambling news is really starting to get there. You know, I've gambled for 40 years, 35, 40 years on sports, and I've seen some crazy stuff. I don't know if you ever read Henry Hill's book, but one of the things he talked about in there is if you're a gambler, if you're the mob, if you're some nefarious thing, who are you? How are you going to try and rig the game? And for the most part, and I remember Bill Russell saying this, he goes, I wouldn't ruin my reputation for $100,000. Now, this is back when they barely made $100,000. He goes, you'd have to give me $10 million. This is back in the day. And I do applaud that these guys make so much money. It makes them harder to access in terms of throwing a game. I mean, what would you have to pay MJ to get him to throw a game, right? I mean, there is the rumors in the mid-'90s that he was in debt to the gamblers, and David Stern basically said, you need to take a timeout. That's why he went and played baseball. Then he came back in his triumphant return to the NBA, won a couple more titles. I don't know if that's true, whatever. Nobody's ever going to say David Stern isn't here. Michael's definitely not going to say anything. And then the rumor was that the gamblers killed his dad. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't have any wherewithal. I hope it's not. I do remember, though, when they found Michael's dad, or they realized that they had killed him, he didn't seem that affected. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. Maybe I just couldn't read the guy, But now we're starting to see the real dark side because all these leagues are in bed with gambling, right? And if you're going to rig something, I mean, think about this. In the Super Bowl we're going to see this week, you could bet $20, $30 million and nobody's going to bat an eye. All you need is a back judge or an umpire just to call a holding call here and there. Maybe two. And let's be honest, on every play, there's pass interference. On every play, there's a lineman holding. You can find it. I mean, we see it every week where, there's a sketchy call on a DB, and Troy Aikman comes in and goes, I really don't think that is. And then the official in the booth comes in and goes, well, by the letter of the law, that's really a foul. Well, no kidding. I could do that literally for 80 plays a game. I mean, really. These guys are holding, right? On the defensive side and on the offensive side. It's just which one gets called. Which one is the most obvious, right? Well, I remember a couple years ago when the Saints were hosting the Rams in the playoffs, one of the DBs for New Orleans was just manhandled by the Ram and no call was ever made. Well, what did that affect? I mean, that's affecting hundreds of millions of dollars in bets. The Super Bowl, the refs are probably making, I don't know what the payout, I didn't look it up, but I'm assuming they make $20,000, right? Well, they're human too. Just because they're an ump doesn't mean they don't have a gambling problem. That I think is the biggest problem with the NFL. They should have full-time reps. They should be paying these guys $1 million a year so they aren't as susceptible to corruption as they are in their regular life. But the NFL's got to go cheap on cheap. They're always trying to cut a corner, just like the Trump administration, right? So we find out from federal authorities, this is according to ESPN, that the gambling ring that was involved with Jonte Porter, who is banned from the NBA, and Terry Rozier, which is ongoing, and Terry is not making any comments, was also linked to 3 unusual wagerings on college games. Temple game last March, There was a couple games in early December. Wright State was one of them. Real off-the-mark games. And one of the things is, as me being a gambler, if you're going to rig a game like Wright State against, Youngstown or whoever it is, you're going to bet $100, $200, $300,000 to really clean up. That is going to be the biggest red flag. I worry about what would happen if it was Duke, North Carolina, because then you could bet $3-4 million, and I don't think anybody'd really notice. There's so many foreign betting markets, whatever. Also, and this is really this smells to high heaven, and I don't even know where you go with this. MLB fired Major League umpire Pat Hoiberg for a shared betting account with a pro gambler. Now, this guy lives in Iowa. He opened an account in Iowa which has legal gambling under his own name. And then he shared another account with a pro gambler that the feds have not announced, or MLB. MLB said he's been fired for failing to uphold the integrity of the game. Yeah, okay. Let's not talk about Houston and that whole scandal. Hoiberg, though, was regarded as the best umpire in the major leagues. I didn't know that. He had the highest rating, and he's also known for his perfect performance in Game 2 of the 2022 World Series when he was plate umpire and called all 129 balls and strikes correctly. When MLB started investigating Hoiberg, he had a app, Telegram, and he deleted all the threads to this pro gambler. It's kind of like when Tom Brady destroyed the cell phone when Deflategate was going on. If it smells fishy, if it acts fishy, it is a fish. And Hoiberg can apply for reinstatement in 2026. I guess we'll see. But, it makes you wonder. And I'll tell you, as a gambler, I've seen crazy stuff. I used to really see crazy stuff in college basketball. I can't even explain so many of the things. In a quiet moment, I'm going to have to start writing some of them down. But as a gambler, sometimes you're on the right side, sometimes you're on the wrong side of it. You're just hoping the game's officiated fairly. I don't know. The money is just going to get overwhelming. And like Henry Hill says, the guy to get is the official, is to get the ref. They've got drug addictions. They've got gambling addictions. They have different other addictions that you can prey on, and I don't know how well these people are getting vetted. And honestly, the only way to monitor it is through sports books and see, quote unquote, abnormal activity. Yeah. All right, I'm kind of got a sour taste in my mouth for gambling today, so I'm not going to do the prop bets, but I will be doing them tomorrow. Please leave your comments, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and I will talk to you tomorrow.